Hi guys, good evening. So as far as this session is concerned, I believe we are touching a very touchy topic as far as your MBA aspirants are concerned, right? So general knowledge, why I say it is a very touchy topic is because general knowledge is a section which you guys would mostly be guilty of ignoring. Is it true? So we were talking about how most MBA aspirants, test aspirants, find it a little troubling to study GK. Let's try and understand that first. First, we are not equipped to study history, geography, or all these subjects. I mean, some of these subjects, for example, history, arts and culture, geography, etc. Some of these subjects were subjects that we dreaded when we studied them till up till 10th, and then most of us sort of ran away from them to the comfort of mathematics and science. I'm also one of those. Secondly, preparing for GK requires a very special or a different kind of a strategy, which is different from, which is slightly or rather completely different from what you are used to while you're preparing for other sections for MBA exams like English, quantitative, like logical reasoning, etc. Right? Now, why is that so? Because let's just see a graph for you to understand it better. Right? So this is a simple XY graph. Now, when you see on the x-axis, I have time taken or the effort put in, and on the y-axis we have the results. That means how proficient you become with the subject with time. So as far as quant or maths is concerned, the amount of efforts that you put in is proportionate to the amount of the efficiency that you'll be or the proficiency that you'll be building in, right? So the more you study, the better you become, right? And those two factors are proportionate. Next, so this is quant. Next, you have verbal abilities. Now, this is there's an underlying assumption here that most of you have studied from decent, good schools and obviously from English medium schools. So the amount of time that you put in is less relative to the amount of efficiency or proficiency that you will gain in the subject. Okay, next comes, now of course these are also quant and LR, they are pretty much the same things. Next comes GK. So what happens with general knowledge is, it matters how much knowledge that you accumulate, right? An accumulation of knowledge that takes time and a lot of effort. So even if you put in, let us say, 10 days on history, you would not suddenly become proficient in history because the number of questions that can be asked from history are actually limitless. So you'll have to keep accumulating, keep hitting that wall with your head, literally speaking. So, and then after a lot of effort, after a large number of hours spent trying to study general knowledge subjects, you'll eventually become comfortable. So the key takeaway when you're studying general knowledge is be patient, practice a lot, right? And also be persistent. So it's not possible for you to complete the syllabus or whatever the syllabus might be, because there is no such defined entity as the syllabus of general knowledge. So keep persisting. So you don't try to leave general knowledge for the end, right? For 10 days, 20 days, I'll finish it off in 20 days. That won't happen, frankly speaking. Eventually, you will give up. So before we start, you should understand that GK requires regular, persistent efforts for you to become proficient in. So moving on, these are the broad areas that I'll be covering throughout my presentation. First, I'll broadly introduce you to what are the areas in which general knowledge is divided. Of course, the most basic classification or division is between static and current GK. And we'll delve deeper into that. What areas, what sub areas are there in static GK as well as current GK, from which questions are generally being asked. Next is a very important section, that is past year trends. So I've taken a sample of 4 tests, 4 popular tests, and 2 latest versions, or 2 latest available versions, I would say. And we try to analyze from which all sections have we seen questions from, so that we'll try to establish a trend, and also we try to establish where there is something called a trend or not, which is very important. Next, just to give you a feel of the kind of questions that you can expect in your exams, I'll go through quickly about 40 questions of selected past year questions from 4 or 5 popular exams in the country. And next, lastly, but again, most importantly, and I guess this is why you are here for this session, I will try to explain to you the strategy of how to prepare general knowledge for MBA entrance examinations. So with that, let's begin. So again, as I said earlier, general knowledge section is general knowledge questions can be broadly classified under 2 broad heads, static GK and current GK. Now, static GK, of course, as the name suggests, these are areas which are not dynamic, which do not change over time. For example, history, geography, etc. Right? And of course, current GK is concerned with your current affairs. Now, whenever we talk about exams, the general thumb rule is to prepare 6 to 12 months of the current affairs from the date of the exam. These vary because, for example, in MAT, 6 months is enough. And for example, in XAT and IIFT, 1 year is considered to be a safe period of time from which you prepare current affairs from. Okay. So next, so because you're training to become okay, guys, your large number of you are asking questions, so it won't be possible for me to address them as we go along because we won't get to the end of the lecture like this. So it's 8:30 now. Another 15 minutes. 8:45, you can ask me questions, right? Then I'll have a 5-minute session then another round of question and answers at 9:15, another 5 minutes, and then all the remaining queries I will take up at 9:30, right? That last question and answer session does not have a time limit, so we can go on till late at night, no problem. Okay, so try, but my concern, what I want to highlight is focus on what I'm trying to explain right now rather than getting hung up on a question. Just keep noting them down. And I really do hope you have pen and pencil and paper ready at hand and you're not just listening to me like a radio broadcast. That won't help. Anyway, so the first and most popular section that we have from static GK, and it's obvious since you will be training to become business leaders, management leaders in the future. So the first section would be business, economy and finance. So in business, you can expect questions like popular taglines, popular brand names, etc. and to which business house do they belong. Economy can be theoretical, macroeconomic and very little bit of microeconomic. So macroeconomy theory is the primary focus. The major focus would be on Indian economy, how the Indian economy has been performing in the past few years. And of course, the section on finance, the stock markets, banks, RBI and its functioning, so on and so forth. So these are all theoretical questions from static GK. Next, of course, polity. Polity includes the Constitution of India and the Indian political system, right? Next, and very important, government schemes and policies. So you can get questions from all these areas in the current affairs and as well as in the static GK section. But currently we are focusing on static GK. And of course, organizations. These are, as far as organizations are concerned, there are certain set patterns of questions that most of popular exams would be asking. For example, the headquarters of a WTO, where are they located? How many members in Sark, let us say? And what are the functions of, let us say, World Bank? What are the functions of IMF, right? What is the objective of, let us say, TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership? so on and so forth, right? So there are lots of questions that you can expect from organizations. Next, of course, is geography. Most of the papers focus really on Indian geography. However, there are certain papers we'll see later in past year trend section that asking questions from core theoretical geography as well as world geography too. Next, history. Again, this is a huge section. It includes Indian history. That's not world Indian history, of course, that doesn't make sense. So it is Indian history, which includes ancient, medieval and modern. I hope you know the difference between ancient, medieval and modern Indian history. And then, of course, we have history of the world. History of the world, right? Again, when you talk about history of the world, it's very, it won't be delving too much into historical events, just major historical events, primarily from the Industrial Revolution and onwards. Next is a very critical section, which most of you would find a very hard time to study and find materials from, is Indian culture and arts, right? So again, this is an area which really troubles MBA aspirants. Again, you would have to really focus on these. Next is, of course, miscellaneous. Now, this small term, miscellaneous, it seems very small, but however, you would see it includes a large number of questions that would be asked in almost all the examinations. Let's see what miscellaneous includes. First, sports, right? All static GK questions from sports, they would be in miscellaneous. Then questions from books and authors, various awards, various honors, various international day, for example, World Environment Day, World No Smoking Day, etc., etc. So again, you would see a large number of questions would be coming from the miscellaneous section. So let's move on to the next. Okay, now in the next slide, I'll go through various areas from which current GK questions are generally asked in these MBA exams. So can you all, okay, can you all hear me? Okay, I think I've lost the video feed, have I? Can you see me as well? Okay, large number of yeses, I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so current GK. Again, the logic of you preparing for MBA exams, they want people who are regular with newspaper reading and especially concerning news from the world of economy, business and finance. So you'll find a large number of questions from this section. Now, if you talk about MAT, and we'll see it later also, almost 100% of questions are asked from current GK, right? Conversely, you have ISNET. They are less focusing on current GK. However, they focus more on static GK and core theoretical static GK, example, theoretical geography theory. Okay, next, of course, we've already gone through this. Important current affairs from the world of Indian polity, various government schemes and policies which have been launched in the recent past, and organizations. If there is a new organization that has been formed, for example, RCEP is in the news quite often. So they might ask you who all are the members of RCEP. Now that kind of a question would actually be classified as a current affairs question, not as a static GK question. Next, of course, is international affairs. Any new treaties that are signed, any new conflicts that have conflagrated wherever in the world, right? Any major natural disasters. So there has been a recent earthquake in Indonesia. They might ask you which particular island was most affected. And of course, we have a volcanic eruption over there. So they might ask you the name of that volcano. So these are all current affair questions. You're not expected to remember the names of all the volcanoes in the world, but only those that have been making the news in the recent past. right? That is very critical. Next, and very importantly, any technological breakthroughs in the recent past, right? So, and of course, miscellaneous section again, you'll find miscellaneous section dominating in current GK, much like in static GK. So questions from sports, books and authors, international days, awards and honors, etc. They're the same sets of questions that can be asked from current GK as well. Okay. Okay. So this is something that you've all been, I guess, waiting for. You want to strike out a pattern. You want somebody else to come and tell you, study this and you'll get through. So let's see if we can find out a pattern really, right? In this particular table. So what I've done is, so let's look at the first row. Of course, the first row talks about SNAP. I've taken as sample questions 2015, 2017. The first column here talks about only static GK. So 27 questions in 2015 SNAP 2015 came from static GK, and 13 questions from SNAP 2015 came from current GK. So I hope the format of this table is clear to everyone. Okay. So again, as far as SNAP is concerned, SNAP 2015 and SNAP 2017, there is a stark contrast, right? So 1 year, 2015, you get 27 questions out of 40, out of a total of 40 from static GK. And then very next year, you have only 5 questions out of a total of 30, right? Coming from static GK. So it's very difficult here again to find out a pattern. Let's move on to the next one. That is IIFT 2016 and IIFT 2017. Guys, it's not possible for me to have covered all the exams. Of course, some of you are asking about MICA, NMAT. The same principles apply over there also. If you want to look at the basic analysis of the past SNAP questions and CMAT questions, not NMAT. So you can go to our website and see that. But however, the idea is to give you a basic understanding, right? The same principles would apply there as well. So you can go and read about them on our website. Next is IIFT 2016. Okay. Somewhat we can say that it is slightly predictable. However, IIFT is one of the most unpredictable exams, as you all may be knowing. So there is no pattern that emerges in terms of divisions between static GK and current GK in IIFT as well. Similarly, ZAT. Now ZAT is one of the most difficult general knowledge sections that you'll come across in various examinations, right? So again, although they are showing a propensity or rather inclination towards putting in more static GK questions as compared to current GK questions, however, again, nothing is written in stone. They might reverse the trend next year. So you have to be prepared both ways. Next, one of the most predictable and easier papers that you will find as far as the general knowledge section is concerned is MAT, right? So again, for the last 2 or 3 years, that all the times that MAT has been administered, they have almost 100% inclination towards putting in only current GK questions, that too only for the last 6 months. Okay. Next, guys, you'll have to stop chatting amongst yourself. We won't solve any purpose. You know, this is similar to talking in class, right? This is a class. So stop chatting and commenting in the middle, please. Next is TISNET 2016, 2017. Again, TISNET, one of the most challenging general knowledge sections that you can come across. So again, more inclination towards static GK that we see. Okay, so I think it is 8 45. So before I move forward, I'll take questions. I'll take questions for 5 minutes right now, please. Yes, questions. So I'll be coming to the sources from where all you have to study in later in the presentation. What? Okay. How many months? Current affairs, I said 6 to 12 months. Level of difficulty, ZAT, toughest, IIFT, TISNET, and then the other exams. ZAT I'm not sure is including GK scores, but various colleges do look at the GK scores at the time of the interview, so you cannot afford to mess it up, really. Sources for current GK I'll come across later. Is 1 month enough to score average? I'm sorry, Ira, I will not answer that question. So Pratyush is saying the syllabus has changed for SNAP. Now they focus on current GK the most. See, Pratyush, they might be focusing on current GK right now, but you know what? You're not sure what will happen the next year because there's no syllabus as such, right? Vidhu, what's up? Copy of economic survey, no. So don't go ahead and pick up random books, right, to prepare for GK. GK digest, okay, whatever suits you. UPSC civil services, no, of course, the kind of level that you expect in civil services is much higher as compared to these exams. However, some exams like TISNET and IIFT can be considered equivalent to UPSC type exams, right? GK, it's not okay to start GK preparation for GK after CAT. One of you was asking. Okay, guys, you'll have to slow down. I can't expand my chat box more, you know. Okay. Guys, sources I'll be telling you soon. Please be patient. Apps for GK, whatever suits you. I can't. Can you take some GK? Lucent, okay, fine. So Sadiq, of course, the government rural schemes for IRMA. IRMA again focuses on government. You'll have a lot of questions from government schemes. So you can pick up. Again, there's a very good Wikipedia page on Indian government schemes, Government of India schemes. So you can pick up names from that and take down notes from that. That will be sufficient for your purpose. Or you can buy India Yearbook, right? India Yearbook, that also covers a lot of government schemes. Lucent I've not seen, frankly, Nilesh, so I can't really comment. See, I don't believe in discussing cutoffs, frankly, because cutoffs vary a lot depending on the level of difficulty of the exam every year, right? That is what I'm trying to establish here. You can't target, let us say that you can't say to yourself, I will do 10 questions and I'll be through. So what if you get an easy level question, easy level paper? So of course the cutoff would go high. So preparation for MICA, GK and all these general knowledge sections would be the same as far as preparing for them are concerned. Of course, this is a question that most of you will be worried about. History, geography, polity, economy, miscellaneous, so on and so forth. They are very vast, and this is what you have to accept, and accordingly you will have to devote time for each of these sections because each of these sections are important. Again, as when I move to the next slide, you'll see that there is no fixed pattern. No exam is concentrating on, let us say, economy alone, right? So it's not a prudent strategy for you to, let us say, focus on one section and ignore the others, right? Of course, it will take time, but you have all the time in the world. Okay. So very important question that Bhardwaj has asked is that how to practice current GK questions. Now, there is only one way that I know how to practice: solve as many questions as possible. Of course, I'll be coming to that later also. Okay, I won't be discussing cutoffs. Okay. Economic survey, okay, that's not really required. Of course, I'll be telling you which are newspapers to read. Hindu is also good for that. Okay. So I think we've had 5 minutes. So I've tried to answer all the queries. I'll come to the newspaper reading session later on. We have a full length video on YouTube freely available, in which I've told and I've explained how to read the newspaper for competitive examinations, and so those of you who want to see that, you can search for the art of reading the newspaper on our Hitbullseye YouTube channel. I won't share the link, guys. Please do a bit of YouTube or Google search. I'm sure you will be doing that quite often. Okay. Okay. So I think, yes, I think this video will be available on YouTube after this session. So let's continue with the session. So try to remain, I request you again, please try to ask as relevant, limit yourself to only relevant questions, because we have a lot of participants and we have very less time. Okay, let me just begin. Okay. So next, this table follows a similar format. We have 4 papers: SNAP, IIFT, ZAT, MAT. Past there are 2 past year exams that have been that I've analyzed into these different sections. Now, okay, so one of you has Ira has obviously clearly stated the obvious, that miscellaneous has the maximum possible number of questions. So can we really just go through it? I'll give you 30-40 seconds. Just go through this table. Can you discern any trends? Because yeah, can you discern any trends from this? Just try and absorb whatever you see. Yes, just try and make sense of whatever you see. Okay, someone is saying IIFT is pretty predictable. I respectfully disagree, because at one time they're asking 3 questions from business and economy. The next year, 8 questions. So I don't think that is predictable enough for me. Yes, Smriti is right in her observation. Business, polity, miscellaneous, these are the core areas from which questions have been asked. So there have been a few questions asked from history and geography as well, but a general trend that can be observed from this particular table is these areas are not very popular as far as these exams are concerned. Yes, that is a very valid observation. Again, government schemes and organizations, as I said earlier, these are very important for your exams. Okay, any other observations? Anything else? Kamya, I think we'll have a analysis. We have an analysis of TestNet past year exams GK sections on our website. So I've not covered it in this presentation, but you can go ahead and have a look. But again, I just want you to give you guys a feel of how to analyze these exams, right? Okay. Anyways, so key takeaways from this particular slide are, first, there is no discernible trend. There is no discernible trend that one paper is following, right? So what I'm talking about here is, if you look at only SNAP, right? There is no discernible trend. Is SNAP more oriented towards geography? More questions from geography 1 year, next year? Again, no trend as such. A broad trend that is established is a lot of questions from miscellaneous. But miscellaneous itself is, as the name suggests, quite vague, right? So it has questions from a lot of areas. Right? As I said earlier, awards and honors, films, right? Some natural disasters across the world, so on and so forth, international days, numerous international days, so on and so forth, right? Next, again, if you look at that, again, very difficult for you to discern a trend in the ZAT exam from this particular table. However, when you look at the table a little more realistically, right? So let me put myself in your shoes, right? So you guys are preparing for MBA exams. So I'm very sure you'll be writing all of these exams and more, of course, your NMATs, CMATs, CAT, of course, but that does not have general knowledge. So you are trying your luck in all these exams and you want to do well in all these exams. So you're not just targeting only one exam, right? That is an average, I'm talking about an average MBA aspirant. So using that premise, right, using that assumption, you are preparing, if you're preparing for all these exams, then the trend of one particular exam, for example, let us say MAT, it is focusing only on current affairs as we saw in the previous table. So if you want to prepare for all the exams, right, you will have to prepare all these sections. That is the most logical conclusion that can be taken out from this particular table. If you're only focusing on MAT, of course, I can confidently say just study current affairs and you'll be comfortable in the GK section. But again, I would, as a teacher, as a coach for MBA entrance exams, I would not recommend that you target only one exam. One college might be your dream college, right? So perhaps IIFT is your dream college, so you want to focus more on IIFT, but that does not mean that you ignore other papers. That is just putting too many eggs in one basket. So the general strategy is prepare in a way which prepares you, which makes you comfortable when scoring well in all these exams. This is what I would take away from this particular table. Okay. So let's move on. Any questions from this table? Only this table, please. So I have deliberately made this table to help you understand, to break this myth that there are certain papers who only ask economy, who would only ask business, who would only ask, let us say, polity. That is not the case, right? So you would have to take out time, you will have to schedule your studies in a way that you are able to touch all these sections and give them adequate enough time for you to be comfortable on the day of the exam. Okay. So in my next section, I'll be the papers that we analyzed, the previous two tables. I've selected 7 or 8 questions from each of these exams, each of these two exams, just to give you a feel of kind of questions that you can expect in these papers. So first we'll take up questions from SNAP 2015 and 2017. Okay. Let's quickly go through these, please. I'm expecting answers from you guys. Don't just stare at your screen, right? Okay. So the answer to CSIRO is Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization, right? Naturally, this question is from static organizations, right? Static organization, and that to international organization. So whenever you come across an organization, if you're reading the newspaper, if you're reading any notes, just make a note of the full form, obviously, the year of its establishment, what are its objectives, right? What are its objectives and functions, and what are the members? Who all are the members of this particular organization, right? Of course, this is number of members. If it is an organization like UN, you're not expected to remember all the countries that are part of the UN. But if it is a small organization like Sark or BIMSTEC, again, just make these kind of short notes for needs. Okay, next. Bhavna is a presentation of Ankia Nat of Assam. In Bhavna, the cultural glimpses of which of these areas or regions reflected? Right, again, this is a question from culture, and I would rate this question as quite a difficult one. So the answer to this is all of the above. Next, in 2015, the President of India approved conferment of Padma Awards to all of the following, but for, now of course, in 2018, you're not supposed to remember questions or current affairs from 2015. However, I just wanted to give you a feel that these kind of questions can be asked as well. So which one of these were not awarded, right? That is a critical. So answer in this case is C, Ms. Lakshmi Gopal Naidu. Next, Microsoft introduced several new products for education customers. This includes a note-taking app called again, I'm sure most of you are using it or at least have seen it or accidentally clicked on it on your computers. The answer, of course, is D, OneNote class notebook. Next, e-Nivaran, a question from government schemes and policies. E-Nivaran is a new facility launched by Government of India. What is its purpose? I see most of you are getting the answer correct. Answer is C, to submit and track income tax grievances. Income tax grievances. Great. Next, which is India's longest tunnel? So a question from Indian geography. A question from Indian geography, and we're doing snap questions. The answer is the Chennai-Nashri tunnel, option A. Next, we look at some CSAT questions from 2017 and 2018. Next, okay, in which of the following countries is Tamil an official language? Okay, I can clearly see a trend. Some of you rushed into the answer and only read till option C. And of course, Sri Lanka Tamil is one of the official languages. However, before you click or color the bubble, whatever mode that is, it is obvious that you are expected to read all the options. So the answer in this case is E, which most of you are getting it correct now. Okay, next, the International Court of Justice is located in a fairly easy question. I can see most of you getting it correct. Yes, it is The Hague. It is located in the Netherlands or Holland. Next, which of the following countries is not a member of Sark? Not a member of Sark. Okay, so Sark again is a multilateral group, multinational group of 8 countries, out of which Myanmar, option number B, is not a member. Moving on. Next, which of the following institutions are related to the Bretton Woods Agreement? Bretton Woods Agreement. So the answer is both BNC, IMF and World Bank. Of course, they were conceptualized in the Bretton Woods Conference. Next, match the music festivals to their respective states. So this is a tough question. So the Hornbill Festival is celebrated in Nagaland. The Zeno Festival is there in Arunachal Pradesh. Escape is celebrated in Uttarakhand. Enchanted Valley is of Maharashtra, and Magnetic Fields is of Rajasthan. So the answer here is C. The answer here is C. So again, in these types of questions, even if you know the answers, if you're lucky, if you know the answers of two of these, any two, if you're able to correctly match any two, it's quite possible that you can arrive at the right answer. Also, it is quite possible that you're able to eliminate 2 out or 3 out of the 5 options. So if you're left with only 2 options, I would suggest that you go ahead and take the chance and mark the answer which you think is most appropriate. However, if you know only one, let us say Hornbill is of Nagaland, and you're not aware of the others, I would suggest skip this question, right? It's no point getting negative marks. Next, what is Article 35A of the Indian Constitution? So again, is this a question from current affairs or static GK? So the answer to this particular question is option number A. It is an article empowering Jammu and Kashmir State's legislature to define permanent residents. Now this question was asked in CSAT, which was held in 2018. This is not this appears to be a static GK question. However, Article 35A was quite a lot in the news because there were a lot of protests against the special power given to the J&K Assembly. So it automatically becomes a part of current GK, right? So again, preparation, rather for your preparation, newspaper reading is of the essence. You cannot hope to do well in GK sections of these exams without reading the newspaper. Okay, moving on. Next. Match the following Indus Valley sites to their respective states. I think there is some problem with the question. Of course, this doesn't make sense. I'm not sure what it is doing here. So these are your options. So the answer is option number A. Hadappa is in Punjab in Pakistan. Then Lothal, of course, is in Gujarat, a very famous ancient port of India. Chanudaro is in Sindh in Punjab, and Banawali is in Haryana. Next, another match the following. Match the rocket missions to their space agencies. Oh, there is another typo here. Of course, there's nothing called NASA. This is NASA. Yes, guys, have a go, please. You'll really have to take your time in matching these. This is a very fairly simple question. It's a fairly simple question. Okay. Some of you are getting the answer correct. The answer, of course, is option number C. Next, we look at some questions from IIFT the past 2 years. The Trans-Pacific Partnership or Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement is a trade agreement among 12 Pacific Rim countries signed on 4th February 2016 in Auckland. Which of the following countries is not a member of the TPP? Okay. So the answer is Indonesia, but I can understand why some of you, rather most of you, are saying United States, because after United States has recently, quit the TPP, right? So that is why you're answering USA. So, but when this question was asked, of course, USA was very much part of the TPP. Okay, moving on. Next, again, a very fairly simple question. Most of you would be using these brands, or most of you would be aware of these brands. Let's have a go, please, quickly. Guys, don't get this question wrong. Most people who are getting this wrong are rushing into the answers, right? There are no marks for, this is not fastest finger first. The answer, of course, is C, right? Facebook, of course, related to technology. Louis Vuitton is a luxury brand. Visa, yes, Visa is in financial services. UPS is in transport. UPS is in transport. and Accenture is in business services. Okay, great. Next, a question from technology, from science and technology, and that too a very simple and a basic one. So all the engineers would be very happy to see this. Okay, so most of you are getting this answer correct. It is, of course, sodium bicarbonate. Okay, so next is a fairly difficult type of a question, especially if you're not a football follower or a football fan. Which of the following country was not there in the UEFA Euro 2016 soccer tournament quarter-final? Again, I'm not expecting you to know the answer to this question. Of course, this is an old question, but again, such tough type of questions can be asked. Again, that depends on your luck. If you remember the answer, then fair and all well. But if you don't, I would suggest just skip these kind of questions. Don't make blind guesses. They don't work. They don't work. So the answer is England. Next, another tough question. Soulmate is a famous Indian music band. Identify the genre of music for which they are famous. Also, name the place from where the music band comes from. Okay, I thought it was a tough question, but apparently it is not. For most of you guys, you're getting the answer correct. The answer is blues rock. That is a type of the genre of music that they play, and Soulmate is from Shillong. Okay, moving on. So again, this is a type of question which is a miscellaneous question, a very different or a very unique type of a question which you can't really prepare for. So if you've just come across Soulmate, if you happen to hear this band, if you happen to read about them in a newspaper, then you would know. Otherwise, there's no way for me to suggest you a source from which you can, be prepared for such kind of a question. Next. Okay. So IIFT last year, they decided to put in some reading comprehension in the Jika section. So just have a go. I'm pretty sure most of you have not even read the question, and then they're just, making blind guesses. Okay, I hope not. But the answer, some of you do have it correctly. It is the Hinduja group. Okay. Okay, a very valid question that Bhardwaj has asked. Can we ignore these types of questions? It feels like a trap to kill our time. See, Mr. Bhardwaj or Miss Bhardwaj, I'm not sure. It's a very simple question, first of all, right? It is a question which is giving you a large number of clues to the answer. So it's not wise for you to ignore these questions. You'll take about 30 seconds with your all speed reading exercises, whatever you do for your verbal section, right? So I would suggest go through these questions. If you still think you don't know the answer, then skip it. But I would not suggest for you to skip any questions. You have to read each and every question. You have to decide whether to attempt or not to attempt, right? Don't just leave questions, on luck. You might just miss out on very simple, very sitter type of questions that everyone would get. Yeah, match the name of the famous conglomerate company with its particular tagline. Again, fairly simple. Even if you know two of them, you're good to go. Okay. Yes. Couple of you have got the answer correct. Answer is of course D. Growth is life is of course Reliance Industries Limited. Imagination at Work, General Electric. High Performance Delivered, Accenture. Okay, sorry for the typo. Accenture, right? And Because You're Worth It is of course L'Oreal, right? So Accenture and L'Oreal, you would be quite used to seeing these ads in television. Next, a method to safeguard against losses due to currency fluctuations is popularly known as, this is a question from finance, a fairly simple question from finance. Okay, I see most of you are getting this answer correct. The answer of course means, the answer of course is hedging. Now let's look at some questions from past year math. Next, according to currently released report titled 2018 World Economic League Table, India is set to overtake United Kingdom and France to become the world's largest economy in 2018. So the answer is D. Answer is D. So India was earlier on the 7th position. Currently, it is at 6th position. It has overtaken United Kingdom recently. Now it is all set to overtake France and come at the 5th position in the short period of time. So there will be a large number of these studies and rankings. So only studies, rankings from reputed institutions, right? World Economic Forum, the IMF, World Bank, etc. Only these are to be remembered. And if you talk about India, Reserve Bank of India, right? So you will also get questions from what are the projected GDP growth figures that India would see. Again, IMF, RBI, World Bank, only these are relevant. All other studies, you don't need to remember these. Next, which Indian company has launched India's first homegrown high purity gold reference standard, Bharatiya Nirdeshak Dravya BND 4201? Answer in this case is the India Government Mint. The India Government Mint. Again, these are purely fact-based questions. Most of GK questions you would find are purely fact-based questions. If you've read them, you'll be able to answer them. If you haven't gone through it, it'll be tough. Okay, moving on. Let's pick up the pace a bit. Next, as per World Bank report, Global Economic Prospects, India will regain the fastest growing economic tag with dash GDP growth in 2018-19. So again, these are certain old figures. Again, these kind of questions, as I said earlier, World Bank, IMF and RBI. Next, who has been recently appointed as the new Foreign Secretary of India? Purely fact-based questions. Yes, have a go please. Okay, great. Most of you are getting the answer correct. Option C, Vijay Keshav Gokhale. Next, which Indian wrestler became the first Indian woman to win gold at the Senior Asian Championship held in Kyrgyzstan in March 2018? Option in this case is Navjot Kaur. So a lot of Indian sports persons winning a large number of medals on the international arena. However, you don't have to remember all of them, but do remember unique firsts. For example, this is a first Indian woman to win gold at the Senior Asian Championship in wrestling, right? So those become important. Next, which director has won the Oscar Awards for the Best Director in the 90th Academy Award ceremony held in March 2018? Guys, okay. I'm talking about the Best Director. Best Director, I think, was won by Christopher Nolan. Okay. Can anyone quickly check? Okay. Can anyone quickly check? Yes, and confirm. Best Director. Guys, check on the internet, right? Yes, for Shape Award. Okay. So some of you are claiming that you've checked it on the internet and it's Guillermo del Toro for Best Director. I believe it was Christopher Nolan. Okay, we go with option number D. Okay, but so you, again, such kind of awards are also important for your exams. Okay, thank you for checking, guys. Next, the World Wildlife Day is observed every year on which date, on which date to celebrate and raise awareness about the world's wildlife, fauna and flora. Okay, Mayur was quite confident, so he gave 3 answers. Okay, great. Option number A, 3rd of March, that is the World Wildlife Day. Next, from which country for the first time India has started process of importing liquid natural gas after the first import of crude oil from the same country in October 2017? So answer here is the United States of America. So let's quickly go through questions from TISNET 2016-17. Yes? Anyone? Very quickly. In India, identify the correct statement from the statements given below. So option number A is the most suitable answer. In India, there are 2 types of monsoons, the southeast monsoons and the northwest monsoons. Next, which of the following pair, place and state, indicate the only place in India where Asian or Asiatic lions are found in their natural habitat? Fairly simple. The answer is B, Gir in Gujarat. Next, the rock inside the Earth's interior is said to be hot and molten, but this is primarily due to the action of which one of these forces listed below, which is, and what is the name of this force? Okay, so I see that most of you are answering this question very confidently and unfortunately wrongly. The answer is radioactivity. Yes, Shivam, finally, and Karthikeyan. The answer is radioactivity, the radioactive decay of radioactive materials inside the core of the Earth. Okay, consider the following statements regarding ecosystem dynamics quickly. The answer is option number A. Statement numbers 1, 2 and 4 are true, and while statement number 3 is false. Right? The green plants themselves are the first at the first trophic level. So statement 3 is clearly wrong. Next, which following country is not a part of the Eurozone? Again, fairly simple. Guys, it has to be Algeria. Algeria is located in Africa. All these countries, you may or may not be sure of whether they belong in the Eurozone or not, but Algeria is definitely not in the Eurozone. Next, pertaining to the term weather, consider the following statements. So you have to identify which of these statements are correct, right? Options are on the next screen. Options are on the next screen, guys. You have to identify which of these four statements are correct, which of them are false. Yeah. So it is saying option number 3 is true. Let's go back. It is defined as the condition in the atmosphere typical for that area for many years, right? It is not the chemical elements in the atmosphere, of course. It is not the amount of sunlight reaching at a particular place, and also it is not as defined as the conditions in the thermosphere of the Earth. So option number 3, the statement 3 is correct, and as per that, option number D is correct. Next, the ozone layer is found in the stratosphere, that is right. Next, the folk music genre named Bhatyali hails from this Indian state. Which state is it? Again, I love the confidence by which you guys are guessing something that I said you should not be doing. The answer is none of the above, option number D. Bhatyali is actually from West Bengal and Bangladesh. Okay. Okay. Now you come to the right answer. So we've come to the end of the question and answer session. Now the big question, how to prepare general knowledge. First and foremost, it's very important for you to understand that you have to go through the past 5 years. I've written 5 years because that's the bare minimum. Get a hold of as many past year question papers as you can possibly do. Go through them. Now it will be very tough, as we saw earlier in one of our table, past year trends, that there are no past year trends, right? Only very broad trends. Miscellaneous, yes, is a sizable chunk. Economy is important. Business is important. Government polity is important. World geography, history, maybe not so much. Perhaps science and technology as well. So this is the only trend that you'll be able to discern, right? So don't try to find more trends. Okay? Don't try to find more insights by going through these past year papers. However, what you must do is try to identify the level of difficulty of different questions that are asked. How many difficult questions are asked? How many questions are easy, right? That will really make the difference in your preparation, right? So if you're able to identify easy questions and answer them correctly, you'll be comfortable in clearing the cutoffs for these exams. People who are not clearing cutoffs, first, they're not prepared. First, biggest reason is they've not prepared general knowledge, or they've ignored general knowledge. Secondly, people who have prepared, who are still not clearing the cutoff, are not going through each and every question and not going through each and every option, right? You might not know the direct answer to a particular question, right? However, if you go through the options, it's very simple for you to eliminate others, right? For example, we saw in the question of Eurozone, right? Perhaps you don't know all the countries of Eurozone. Of course, nobody knows them, right? However, if you go through the options, you can easily see Algeria, that is located in Africa. That can possibly be in the Eurozone. So you straight away go ahead and tick that. So one key takeaway here from that you have to understand is gain the ability to identify those sitters, those easy questions, those questions in which you are able to eliminate two or three options. And if you're left with only two options, I would again suggest you go ahead and mark the answer, right? So going through the past 5 years, GK questions of various exams that you're targeting, it will really help you in identifying those. Again, there are certain specific exams. For example, IIFT, let's go back to that again. It has a lot of questions based on pictures also. So they would give a picture and say, and they would ask, identify this businessman, identify this artist, so on and so forth, right? So these are the kind of questions you must go through. Of course, you can't prepare for them specifically. However, when you do sit for the final exam, you should be expecting such kind of questions and not get shocked by seeing such a question. Again, going back to, again in ZAT, you would see a lot of questions from businesses, taglines, headquarters, so on and so forth. Again, so just go through 5-year questions and you know that you can expect these kind of questions, right? Again, as I said earlier, newspaper reading is a must. Again, it's a valid point that Pujita has raised, that it is not now is not the time to start reading the newspaper. Okay, it won't hurt. Believe me, it won't hurt. It will help you in your GK. It will help you in your verbal. It will help you in your interviews, right? Your eventual aim is not to get a high score in the exam. Your eventual aim is to get into the college of your dreams, right? So start preparing for the interview alongside, and you can start reading the newspaper. When you talk about the newspaper, again, mobile apps are not good. Mobile apps won't serve the purpose, right? Newspaper, you will have to read like a textbook. You will have to make notes out of them. How do you make notes out of the newspaper? Again, please refer to my video on to our video on YouTube. That is the art of reading the newspaper. I have explained how to take detailed notes from that. Next, very important, the sources. For me, first and foremost, the best source of general knowledge always remains the newspaper or any current affairs magazine that you can pick up. We also provide free content on gk.hitbullseye.com in terms of monthly snippets. Those are also quite comprehensive, right? So I would suggest you go ahead and visit our website gk.hitbullseye.com and go through snippets as well. Next, as far as static GK is concerned, over here I have a very humble request to all of you. Do not go by a lot of rumor mongers that appear suddenly whenever you are preparing for a competitive exam, right? So there would be a, one aunt or a cousin would be saying that I heard that this guy read from this particular book and now he's in, let us say, Micah or TIS, so on and so forth. My suggestion is just pick up one source for general knowledge. It can be any source. It can be Bullseye material or any other source that you're comfortable with. Read that and read that again and again and again. So I'll be happier if you read one source 5 times rather than reading 5 sources only once. That will not amount to anything, right? So as far as the sources are concerned, a lot of stuff in the market. Pick up anyone and just repeat again and again. As far as the newspaper is concerned, Hindu, Indian Express, Economic Times, any one of these are fine. Times of India, not suitable for exams. Hindustan Times, not suitable for exams, right? Okay. Moving on, again, continuing with the strategy of preparing the GK section. First of all, you have to realize the harsh reality of preparing for general knowledge. Again, I've emphasized earlier, it requires a lot of effort. It will take a lot of patience. It will take a lot of time. You would think that I'd rather do quant, and instead of GK. Such doubts will come to mind. But again, you will have to do general knowledge if you're targeting any of these exams to get into your dream college. Also, general knowledge preparation is required, is essential for acing your interviews, which you have to clear as well. Active newspaper reading, again, one of the examples that I gave was, if you come across any organization, just try to make a smart use of your smartphone, right? You have to use your smartphone smartly, otherwise it will make you dumb. So just do a quick Wikipedia search, Wikipedia page, just look at the Wikipedia page, jot down a few of the facts, for example, organizations, date of establishment, headquarters, current chairman, objectives, who all are the members, so on and so forth. Right? So this is called active newspaper reading. So do not read the newspaper like a novel. Next, practice is the key to success. Now practicing is usually associated with verbal, quant, LR, etc. Right? However, GK requires as much, if not more. So you have to solve a lot of questions, past year questions, absolute must. Then do as many practice tests as possible. A lot of free tests are available on our website. Just go ahead and have a look. Next, next is a simple word called analyze, but it has huge implications. You have to understand which are the sections that you are lagging behind in. So I think our mobile app gives you a sectional analysis, so you can go ahead and analyze it. Your performance is better. Next, of course, I cannot stress this enough. General knowledge. A lot of these are rote learning-based facts, questions, events, so on and so forth. Very little or no logic behind these various international days. So, okay, there might be logic behind them, but the logic is not important as far as your exam is concerned. You just have to remember when the World Environment Day is, not necessarily the story behind it. So a lot of it requires a lot of rote learning. That is unavoidable. Some of you are good at rote learning, some of you are not. So people who are not, you'll have to work twice as hard to beat the competition. That is the harsh reality of general knowledge. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my session. So I'll take the questions. I'll try to address all of them. So Mayur and okay, books for static GK. There are a large number of books. One of you, there's like Universal, Lucent, Bullseye. Even Bullseye has a lot of material put online for free. We'll shortly be coming up with a crash course or an online course for general knowledge, so on and so forth. We have a lot of freely available YouTube videos online on our Bullseye channel. Again, you can go through them. So just pick one and stick to that one. And also, okay, let me clarify again. As far as the theoretical part is concerned, just go through one source to make concepts, to understand the concept. However, as far as practicing questions are concerned, I suggest that you pick up 2 or 3 sources, right? So you can pick up a large number of books for that purpose. Karthikeyan, I think I've already addressed your question. Current affairs, go to our website gk.hitbullseye.com and you'll find a lot of free material, monthly current affairs. And of course, there are various current affairs magazines available otherwise also that you can go through. Sachin, there's no particular strategy for CMAT GK except for beyond what I've already told you. However, there are certain, we've put on a series of videos, those are a couple of years old. However, the basic principles remain the same. So go to our YouTube channel, right? Write CMAT GK, SNAP GK, IIFT GK, so on and so forth, and you'll find freely available content on our YouTube channel, right? So I'm not sure about the crash course, but there'll be one for sure. Riddhi, as I said earlier, last 6 months to 12 months, right? 6 months to 12 months. So 12 months, because you'll be writing all these exams that I mentioned earlier and more. So prepare questions, prepare current affairs for the last 12 months. That is the safest bet. Ariman, I'm not sure when you joined the session, but in the very beginning, at the very beginning of the session, I said I will not be talking about cutoffs. Sanchit, yes, TISNET is also 1 year, yes. But TISNET traditionally is more focused on static GK. But again, since you will be taking all these exams, I would suggest do current affairs of 1 year. Okay, guys, quickly, you have any more questions, please? So again, Ariman, since you are asking it again, so broad areas can be miscellaneous, finance, business and economy, international and national organizations, right? So these are the broad areas, and of course, current affairs of the last 12 months. These broad areas, if you are good in them, right? If you manage to solve, let us say, 60-70% of questions from these areas, then I think you should be able to clear the cutoff. However, I would again stress, do not ignore any particular section. Even if you're not able to do the theory of history, just go through a lot of history questions. You'll cover a lot of syllabus, right? History anyways is rote learning. You might as well learn the questions and their answers. IIFT again is slightly tough, Sachin, so 12 months. Sanchit, yes, I think Hitbullseye, static GK are pretty sufficient. Again, do a lot of questions. You'll have to supplement with the questions. Dhruv, when to start prep and how many hours per day? Wow, this is a tough question. I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. You should start You should have started preparing much earlier if you have not started yet. How many hours per day? I can only talk about general knowledge. So again, you have to study you have to devote at least 1 or 2 hours every day only on general knowledge. I'm only talking about GK. Dhruv, okay, Divya, okay. Akash is asking a very important question, how to keep in mind all data. Again, I've answered this question, Akash. Revise and revise again. There are no two ways about it. Yes, Jyotsna, military exercises are important. Source for history, Kamya, I've told you, just don't pick up multiple sources, just stick to one, right? Sources of Indian culture, Rishwa, again, whichever notes, be it Bullseye or any other notes that you like, just go ahead and follow that. So, Jeet, 12 videos are not enough, of course. Videos are like classroom lectures. We're not expecting to cover all aspects of general knowledge or in the classroom, right? But what we've done is we've tried to explain the difficult concepts on videos that require explanations, right? So just go through them, but you'll have to supplement through studying notes. Yes, Kana, Bollywood news awards, they are important. Yes, anything that is making a news is important. Okay, guys, I'll take last 2 questions. Try to make them as relevant as possible. I think most of you have already left. Okay, only 63 of you were remaining. Okay, last 2 questions. Yes, guys, please. Ramya, I think you'll get the recording on YouTube in a couple of days. Nilesh, I'm not sure what you want me to discuss now. I think we're out of time for any kind of discussion. Okay. Dhruv, I think to answer this question, it would require another, a repetition of the entire lecture. Just go through this recording whenever you get it on YouTube. Okay, guys. How many questions on terrorist groups in this net? Nobody can give you this answer. Apur. So Tara, for image-based question, I suggest you read the newspaper, right? Watch the news on television. All these famous personalities come on television and newspaper a lot. Okay, guys, I think we are done for this session. I thank you a lot for bearing with the delay for the when we started and in the middle. So thank you so much. I really hope the session was helpful for you all. And so again, you can go through our Facebook and Instagram pages, large number of updates over there. So again, I thank you all for being patient throughout the technical difficulties. I really hope I was able to contribute to your preparation. And for any other doubts and queries that you have, we're always here. Right. Thank you so much.